couple of days ago, I had a completely different video to give you. I created something about two boys in a conflict during a rainstorm under a school's track tent in Frisco, Texas. One boy used his hands, the other boy used a knife. The latter of the two was sentenced to 35 years. Two families completely destroyed by a split-second lack of impulse control from both sides. I wrote about the fathers, specifically the father of the boy that was killed, Jeff Metcalf, as the complicated moral center of the story, the man who appeared to drop the knife, the one who refused to let his grief be weaponized in the name of grace. I went to sleep feeling good about that script. Then the court gag order was lifted, and the moral center of my own narrative was incinerated overnight. And then I realized I had done the exact same thing I built this entire series around. I rebranded a stranger into a flawed saint because a clean hero made my argument feel more complete. The pattern of the habit doesn't just live out online. It's sitting right here in front of this camera. So just like the now unmuzzled Jeff Metcalf, I'm going to say what needs to be said. So let's start over with the full, unsafe truth. You ever heard of Joe Ramirez? Before I go back to the tent, I need you to hold two rooms with me at the same time. In one room, Austin Metcalf's twin brother, Hunter. Hunter wakes up every morning to an empty bed that never gets unmade. That bed belonged to a 17-year-old MVP linebacker with a 4.0 GPA who took his last breath on a wet bleacher while Hunter watched in heartache. His father, Jeff, sat on a sentencing podium looking directly at Karmelo Anthony, his son's killer, a 17-year-old track captain with a 3.7 GPA, 2 jobs, and a nuclear family. He said, "People think grief is sadness. It's not. It's rage, pure, unfiltered rage." The other room is in Belton, Texas. Jose Ramirez Sr. walking past the room his son Joe doesn't sleep in anymore. Joe was 18 and stabbed to death in a boys' bathroom in Belton High School in 2022 by a classmate named Kason Allen. They were having a fist fight. Same state, same claim of self-defense, school setting with the same instinct to reach for a blade. Only difference is Allison got 10 years for criminally negligent homicide, and the country said nothing. There were no Facebook conspiracies, no celebrity live streams, no rallies, no political insights, just a family left to grieve in public silence while the habits machine stayed completely off. Ask yourself why the machine was turned on full volume for Frisco and not for Belton. Sit with that, because I'm sitting in it with you. The answer is the whole point. Here's what I do know about that April rainstorm in Frisco. A boy crossed the line into rival territory that wasn't welcoming to him. There were words, followed by a shove, then a blade, a pierced heart, then a soul leaving a body, while his twin brother watched. Both boys are running the same broken program, a code that says territory must be defended, that empathy is weakness, that backing down is social death. Austin reinforced that boundary with his hands. Karmelo reached into his bag for an equalizer, a knife, because he didn't believe he could survive that moment with just his body, his words, or his dignity intact. You see, a weapon is what you reach for when the threat feels bigger than your ability to absorb it. And I'm not here to argue the trial. The jury gave its verdict. Okay. What I'm noticing is the shape of the pattern. Two young men, one outcome, both born from cultures that teach boys to fight long before it teaches them how to feel. I want you to hold that, because the adults that are screaming outrage outside that tent ran the exact same program. They just called it justice.
I respect everyone until they disrespect me.
The second the court's gag order was lifted, Jeff Metcalf stepped in front of a camera to say, "Tonight, I'm going to allow myself to say what I really want to say." And what was living under that lid for 14 months was not just grief. On independent podcasts and social media live streams, Jeff used Jim Crow-era slurs to describe Karmelo Anthony as a watermelon felon. He told Black Americans that Black fatigue is real and it's getting old. He argued that the playing field is now equal, that Black people have nothing left to complain about. that the almost white jury is justified because black jurors can't even understand how to fill out a form. And from that same hurt, in the same breath, he verbally lambasted Karmelo and his parents as cowards and grifters, throwing financial accusations around a GoFundMe they never ran, while local Dallas news had already documented a separate person was fraudulently using Karmelo's image to raise money without the family's knowledge. He also claimed that the parents were not present during the trial at all, which is also documented as false. You see, he built a story bigger than what he actually knew. Standing on the shoulders of a familiar pain, he reached for an equalizer. And then, within that same 48-hour window, he sat on another platform with Chris Cuomo and softly told the world, "I forgave him, so I don't get ate up like cancer that kills you on the inside." This is what nice racism looks like under the rebrand. Not a hood, not an iron eagle, or racial slurs spoken in isolation. This is the performance of healing on mainstream cameras while executing harm on independent platforms. It's the performance of "I forgave him" married to "the exhausted black fatigue is real." It's accountability language wrapped in the same hierarchy it claims to transcend. It doesn't set off the alarm because it knows how to dress itself, and it makes itself more insidious than the rant. Because the rant, as you can see, because the rant you can see, the mask you have to clock. And I'm not trying to make Jeff Metcalf out as some racist cartoon villain. He is a hurt man whose grief cracked open and showed what was actually living inside. He held the refusal for 14 months. Then the muzzle came off, and the habit that was always there stepped into the light wearing his face.
It talks about forgiveness in the Bible. And one thing about forgiveness, people need to understand this. It's not that I'm giving him a pass and saying, oh, it's okay. Forgiveness is actually for me. It allows me to not carry around hate, anger, rage, revenge, any of that. It will eat you up like cancer if you let that dwell inside of you. So your best bet, if you're a Christian, is to forgive. That doesn't say forget. It doesn't say, oh, you're free from consequence. It's actually freeing you so you're not a prisoner of your own mind and your own self.
And just to be fully transparent with you, I have to tell on myself too. When I first heard the rants, something wanted me to use Jeff Metcalf the same way the outrage machine tries to use all of us. Instead of the clean hero, I wanted to turn him into the clean villain in the new draft. I wanted to replace the saint with the monster. It's the same habit, just a different direction. I was reaching for that familiar pain that I felt towards the George Zimmermans and the Rick Chow's of the world. I had to catch my hand reaching for the blade again, because the truth is, he is a public reflection in real time of his culture's flawed history, the machine's habit, the distorted masculine script that ran under that tent in Frisco, and the outrage loop that makes all of us reduce a stranger to a symbol or a mascot of our confirmation bias when the pain gets too heavy. And you see, I'm a part of this loop too. I'm just trying to practice catching my hand or catching the blade before I lunge. And so I keep coming back to Joe Ramirez, to the lack of platform that he had, and to the question that no one wants to fix their mouth to say out loud. Who gets to seek shelter under the tent of awareness? Whose grief gets to feel the sunshine of the machine? Whose story belongs and whose gets drowned in silence while the habit decides which skin colors generate the most currency in the moment? Two boys made fatal decisions under a rainstorm at a track meet in April of 2025. One lost his life, one lost 35 years, which is almost twice the amount of time he's been on this earth. And the adults outside spent the following 14 months without any true skin in the game, turning their images and bodies into weapons for a culture war that was never about either one of them. And it's really like this. Andrew Anthony said, nobody wins in this except the habit of the rebrand. And we don't know how to talk about it clearly or cleanly. And it wins every time we let it tell us who deserves to be under the tent and how to feel about who doesn't.
You're saying that the overlay of race is not relevant to you. You don't think that that's what this was about?
No, sir, not at all. I said from day one this was not a black and white race issue. First of all, love doesn't see color, hate doesn't see color, God doesn't see color, crazy doesn't see color. So this was a right or wrong, not a human black or white race issue. This was a right or wrong issue, and it was a human issue. That's the basis of it. We all bleed the same color.
The habit.